everybody, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Since Canton Fair is going on right now and some of you are sourcing, I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about sourcing, to talk about how do you find the right supplier. Um, Canton Fair is happening. Everybody is enjoying that. If you haven't attended the online festivities of Canton Fair yet, make sure you check it out. We have the Amazing in China Canton Fair Facebook group where we're kind of covering the event. We're sharing with each other. There's some suppliers in there posting, that kind of stuff. But let's take a moment to talk about finding the right supplier. So this is actually the topic of our masterclass tomorrow. In our mastermind group, we're doing a full mastermind or masterclass on this topic of finding the right supplier. So let's talk a little bit about that, all right? So the first thing that you should consider when you're thinking about finding the right supplier are the different types of suppliers. So there's many different types of suppliers. You have trading companies, you have factories, and you even have wholesalers. Those are many different ways to source your products. So neither of them is right or wrong. It just depends on what you need, the pricing and the quality for your business. So make sure you think about all of the different types of suppliers that you can potentially source from. And then second, we're talking about different methods of sourcing. So of course we have Canton Fair going on right now, and that is online. But there are many different methods of sourcing. So you can source in person, you can attend a trade show such as Canton Fair, or you can go to like the Iwu market. You can go to a market here in the US or in Australia or Europe, wherever you live. A lot of those are happening online right now, which that's the second way we can source. We can source online through Alibaba. We can source through 1688. We can source through any global sources. It's another great website to source from. There's a lot of really great online sources to source from. And then third, we can source through an agent or a sourcing agency. So there are, ways to source that way. And obviously, each of those has its own considerations. We'll get into that in a minute. And then finally, you can source with a factory referral. So maybe one of your existing factories can refer you to another factory, right? They're in the industry. They might know somebody else that they can refer you to. All right. The next thing we need to talk about is, do you need to buy stock or do you need to manufacture your product, right? So that is the thing, right? You might be able to buy your product stock. If I'm sourcing this, well, most likely the supplier already owns the mold. All I'm going to do is put my logo on it. That's pretty easy. I can source that from a trading company, I can source it wholesale. I can source it from a promotional company. I can source it from anybody who has the right price and can put my logo on it. I don't necessarily have to find a factory for that, right? But if I have a unique differentiation or if I'm making a unique product, I have to have something manufactured. I might have to have a mold or something like that. And so then I'm going to make sure that I'm finding a factory that I can source from. And so when you're looking for a factory, you want to make sure that you're not dealing with a trading company, because that trading company is just going to source from factories, right? And then mark up the price for you. But if you don't care, if you're just ordering stock, as long as it's at the right price, then a trading company is just fine. Tomorrow in our masterclass, we're going to really get deep into, the differences between these and how to set up contracts so that when you're developing a unique product or you are differentiating a product, that you can establish the right contracts and ensure that you're working with the right partner in a factory, right? So then the next thing that we're gonna talk about is how much manufacturing is required for your product. You might have multiple elements of your product, and in that case, you might need to find a lead factory and let that lead factory then source the other components of your product, right? That way you're not having to source, if each of these elements is unique, the straw, the lid, this stainless steel body of this cup, I'm going to make sure that I find a factory that is able to be the lead factory. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but that's a good tip for you, because you don't want to have to source all these things separate and then have to get them put together in a package and make sure they all work together and all of that. It's better to find a lead factory and have them then source the rest of the parts of your product. What's wonderful about that is that when you do those contracts with your factories, you can make sure that you're holding one person accountable instead of trying to hold a bunch of different people accountable all over the place, right? All right, the next thing I want to talk about is making sure the rule of three. I want you to follow the rule of three. Anytime you are thinking about sourcing a product, I want you to find a minimum of 3 options for suppliers. Why is that? Well, things are not as always as they first appear. So, you might go and you might think that supplier is great. You reached out to them, they're a great communicator, but what if their quality isn't on point? What if they disappear? What if you go and visit their factory and it's not a good fit for you, right? So you want to make sure that you have at least 3 options. I usually, 3 is good, it's a good option for each of your products, so that you can properly vet those suppliers and choose the best partner in terms of communication, price, quality, delivery, and growth of your business, okay? All right, and then finally, the last thing that we're going to talk about tomorrow in our masterclass is the process of making an order. So really, that initial conversation with a supplier. So when you're reaching out to a supplier at Canton Fair, when you're getting into a message with them and you're asking them about the products and you're asking them about prices, it's really important to take your time to have a proper conversation. Don't just ask them how much something costs. They're not going to take you seriously if you do that. And you're probably going to get a pretty high price. So take your time to really study the product and prepare for a nice conversation with that supplier, right? So that you can talk more about the product and that you can ask the right questions. Tomorrow in our masterclass, our folks are going to get a worksheet of exactly what questions to ask, how to ask them, in what order, and the information that they need to fill in. So then after you have that initial conversation and you get all the great information about the factory or the trading company and their products, you really want to follow through with vetting that supplier. So, you can go through a company like VTrust or Kima, and they can do a factory audit. I know VTrust right now is running a $96 deal right now to vet factories for people going to the virtual Canton Fair. But make sure that you're vetting. Ask them for their business license, right? Take the time to actually make sure they are who they say they are. And then you want to make sure after that, once you've vetted your suppliers, you have those follow-up conversations and build a relationship so that you can actually get into negotiating for your order. And then you want to start and make sure you're getting your samples, you're talking through, you're submitting all of your requirements, your spec documents, everything like that, and you discuss payment terms, you negotiate your deal, and you do your first purchase order. And then you're going to get into following up during the order with inspections. So you're going to make sure that you inspect those products by a third party, an independent third party. Again, I love Kima, I love VTrust, really great inspection companies. And you can reach out to them and they can do what I recommend if this is your first time working with the supplier, is to do a mid-production inspection, because a mid-production inspection is mid-production. So you can make sure that before all of these goods are finished, that they're actually on track and that they're meeting your quality requirements. And you can fix those things in the middle of production instead of having something fail at the end of production. So that's what I recommend. It's very affordable to do an inspection. And then you're going to move into shipping and delivery. So once the products are inspected, I always do a mid-production inspection and a final inspection. Once those products are inspected, you can get into your shipping and delivery. Find a reliable freight forwarder, not one that messages you on Facebook. I love Honu Worldwide. They're really, really great. Their information is on my website, amazingathome.com/resources. I love them. They're really, really good. I also love Brownstone International. They're a really great freight forwarder. I like Long Sail. They're a great freight forwarder. But either way, make sure you're vetting your freight forwarders. And then you get into shipping and delivery. So delivering your products either to a 3PL or to Amazon or wherever they're going. So this is what our masterclass is all about tomorrow. I hope that these tips have helped you and that you're thinking about all these things as you're reaching out to suppliers this week at the virtual Canton Fair. Remember, you can join us in a group discussion and following of the virtual Canton Fair at facebook.com/groups/Amazing in China Canton Fair. Or you can just search for the Amazing in China Canton Fair group, and you can join us in checking out that virtual Canton Fair. And then if you would like to join us tomorrow in our masterclass to learn in depth how to find the right supplier and all of these considerations that are involved, you can visit amazingathome.com/mastermind and join us. And you not only get this class, but you get all of our classes on finding great products, how to vet them, all of that great stuff. So anyway, I hope that you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope these tips have been helpful for you, and we'll see you next time.